Page 22, Yankee Doodle, a very famous melody here in the United States. Well, we'll look at these pages and you think, good grief, they went nuts with eighth notes. They're all over everywhere. They do that sometimes. Well, we'll get through it. At the top of the page, they're introducing a new time signature, now 2-4. We've had 4-4 and we've had 3-4. Now we get 2-4. Again, it doesn't matter what the numbers are as long as you understand how time signatures work. The top number tells you how many beats in a measure or how far to count. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay. The bottom number tells you what you're counting or what note gets a count or a beat. And we're still on quarter notes. So there is the same as 2 quarter notes in every measure. Well, if you recall, there's 2 eighth notes to a quarter note. So and that would be like 4 eighth notes. You could have 4 eighth notes in a measure, and you see in this piece, that happens quite a bit. We're just doing it 1N, 2N, 1N, 2N is all it is. Has nothing to do with speed. It's strictly rhythm, just helping you the relationship between the notes. Which notes are longer and shorter, it's all it is. The tempo has to do with speed. Now you'll notice in the bottom staff here at the beginning, they have the whole rest in each measure. Well, a whole rest is like a whole note, right? But you can't have a whole note in 2/4 time because you can only have 2 beats in a measure and a whole note would get 4 counts. However, remember the whole rest gets double duty. It does 2 things, one of 2 things, and it can represent the same as a whole note or it can represent a whole measure. And it doesn't matter how many beats are in the measure, it's just the whole measure. So here, those whole rests are getting 2 counts because that's how many beats are in the measure. And that's how they do it. They could have put in 2 quarter rests in every measure. They could have put in a half rest in every measure. But typically, if it's the whole measure, they'll just stick in a whole rest. It doesn't matter what the time signature is. I said that already. Okay, let's look this over. It's 2 lines long, treble and bass clef still, 2/4 time signature. We got eighth notes going nuts and quarter notes. So it's one hand playing at a time here, so I'm going to take both hands together. And we're still in middle C position, and I know that because the music tells me that. At the beginning, it's thumb on C in the right hand. That puts the right hand here. And if you look at the end of the first line, they want second finger on a B. That's here. The left hand, well, that puts the left hand here. That means I'm in middle C position. That's how I know. And it's 1N, 2N. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. You get the idea? So you put the hands together and then go back over carefully and get rid of any hesitations. Also, play this without looking at the keyboard. And I trust you know the names of the notes in the music by now, automatically. Once I have the notes and the rhythm, then I think about the articulation, which they don't give us any. But we can put in the phrasing if we can hear where it is. Lift up. Lift up. So I'm lifting up between the phrases. And that's a little tricky because in the last measure, the first line, the phrase is between the eighth notes. I mean, it separates. So it's, in other words, don't connect the eighth notes. No, lift up between them. Yeah. So I'm lifting up between the phrases so you can see there's a phrase between the second and third measure. Lift up. And the last, lift up. And then connect it all together, okay? Then I add the dynamics. Moderately loud, mezzo forte. It's all melody. In the second line, they give you that swell go up. You don't go up to loud. Go up to loud and back down. Force it at first if you have to, but eventually you just want to feel it. You want to feel that. You want to feel that. In speed, allegro, moderato, moderately fast again. But that's the feel of the piece. It's not necessarily the speed of the beat because they're all eighth notes. So it's 2, 1, 2. See, that's more of a moderato feel. But when you're doing eighth notes all the time, eighth notes will tend to slow it down a little bit. It's the overall feel of it. If I do the speed of the beat, 1, 2, moderato, That's just too fast. So we slow it down. So this the overall feel of the piece that's moderately fast. That's my moderato right now. If I had a couple cups of coffee, a glass of wine, whatever, I'm sure that would change it. It's whatever. Remember the natural accents? 1, 2. Let's first beat the measure. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Feel this natural accent. 1, 2. So once you have this under control, you can play it without looking at the keyboard. It's okay. Come back to the video. Let's play it together very slowly and check the notes and the rhythms. I'll give us 2 counts because there's only 2 beats in a measure. It's a ready and go and. That's ready go with an and in between. Those are for eighth notes. Now let's play it together very slowly. Now because we have eighth notes all over, I've adjusted the metronome a little bit to beat eighth notes. So the metronome is beating eighth notes. So it's 1 and 2 and. These are eighth notes. Ready and go and.